traveling to the Campbell River area for healthcare support for their children. So we're very excited. We had a great turnout. Mayor Adams was very gracious in terms of the words that he brought to, I think we had over 75 guests at our ribbon cutting. And this is a project that has been in the works, as you know, for some time. The communities of the North Island have been talking about the need for this building probably since 2014. We did some functional planning and really started acceleration of the plans and put the shovels in the ground in 2019, basically, and launched a capital campaign to raise $7 million in support of the capital build of the project, and also to put dollars aside for the ongoing operations of the facility. We have sorry, I see some people are having some difficulty. I think it's right in the chat. If you know how to access your chat, you'll see, and then just click on the JPEGs. There are 8 files there. So we anticipate that we will have 100% occupancy. We have some experience operating a facility like this, as we do so at Janice Place on the Victoria General Hospital site. And over the last 9.5 years, we have hosted over 2,500 families from across the island who find themselves having to be close to their children who are accessing healthcare South Island. So Qualayu House is really our foundation's attempt to fill that need that has been identified both by Island Health, First Nation Health Authority, and KDC Health. And we're very, very grateful and excited to be one of the, I guess, facilities within Mayor Adams' healthcare campus, which includes hospice, Yakulta, the hospital, and now our home away from home. I think what I'll do is perhaps just pause here and field any questions that you might have. How can I?
Director, is there any questions?
I think Ron put forward a message. Most people are saying that they can't get the images, and he's asking, are you paste the image into the chat rather than send the file?
Okay, I'm just going to check. I'm looking over to Edith and see if she could do it, but
I'm getting the same message.
oh,
You're having the same message.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, let me see whether I can.
One possibility might be to share your screen if you have those in a file or a folder.
I do. Yes, I can do that. Yes. Can you give me the ability, or can I just, I guess I can request.
There's a little box at the top of your Teams meeting that has an up arrow.
Yes.
That's, if you press on that, that is the share screen, and then you just need to select the window that you want it to share.
Has an up arrow.
The little white arrow at the very, very top, right by the leave box.
Oh, yes.
You see that little white square?
I do.
With the,
thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. All right.
And then just, if you just click on the window you want to share.
We can see your screen now.
Oh, you can. Okay, wonderful. This was back to 2019, where our board chair, Sandra Hudson, and I were at the top of the hill on Yakulta, and we were unveiling our sign, which talked about the $7 million.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
still just seeing the director's,
Oh,
Veronica, so it's not working.
okay. Yeah, my
Okay.
apologies.
That's
I-
unfortunate.
Yeah.
All the pictures will probably be in the camera mirror.
They are. They are. And I can make them available afterwards as well. But it is now, we're in the process of preparing. We've hired staff. We intend to staff it 24/7. And we anticipate that we'll have our first families available to stay in August of this summer. We probably will do a soft opening, meaning we'll probably have a couple of families stay, and then we will, we'll have a better opportunity to ramp up as we work out all of the kinks in the house, whether it's ensuring that the showers and the bathtubs and the, laundry, all of that works well. It is, I'm very, very excited to be able to offer the opportunity for you to tour the facility. We anticipate that we will have a way to invite some of you into the house. We'll, assuming that COVID remains at a distance over the next month, couple of months. I will reach out to Edith to ensure that for those of you that would like to tour the facility, that we're able to accommodate that. It is an 11,000 square foot home, 2.5 stories. It's a beautiful facility. We're very excited about it, and we know that North Island families will really benefit from having the house there. Any questions that I could answer at this point?
I have a question, Director Lee.
Hang on, got Director Mogul first.
My
please.
hand up. Yeah, got my hand up.
Yep.
Hi, Veronica.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming in with your presentation. I had the pleasure of being able to attend the grand opening yesterday as well. And I was really taken with the comments Nick Chowdhury was talking about. And so when his wife was pregnant with their son, who is now 9 years old, it was a difficult pregnancy and they had to spend a good deal of time in Victoria. And he said if it hadn't been for Janae's place in Victoria, it would have made things so much more difficult for him and his wife and their other 2 children. So having this type of a facility for families in Campbell River and the North Island is just such a great asset. And so thank you so much for all of your work and to everyone who has been involved with this incredible project.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we know that it's going to be very well utilized and it's going to alleviate a lot of stress for people, for sure.
Okay, Director Lee.
Thank you for your presentation and thank you for the work you've done on this project. I and your organization. I wanted to ask, I'd like to tour it. I couldn't, I couldn't attend the opening. I don't know how many regional directors did. The Strathcona District, I believe, contributed about $30,000 to this project. And I don't know that any of our SRD reps were there. Perhaps the chair was, I don't know. But I would like to tour it. So if you could provide us with an invitation and a time and place, that would be great. And the other question I had was, like, is there any funds collected from people staying at the facility to help with the operational costs? Is there any nominal amount of rent being paid?
Yes. We ask folks for, I believe it's 26.25 with GST. And that's per night. And we know, based on our experience at Janice Place, that it's roughly, don't hold me to this, but it's roughly around $90 a night when we look at all the staff costs and all of the other sundries that go along with that. But so there is a subsidized portion of that our foundation, we raise private dollars to fill that gap between the cost and what we ask families to cover. But that aside, your ability to pay that fee is not, it's not needed. If you can't afford it, that becomes a barrier for you staying. We will gladly subsidize it 100%.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Director Lee. Director Evans, please.
Thank you, and Veronica, good to see you here at the Strathmore Regional District. I was in attendance as not only mayor for the city of Campbell River, but a director for the Strathmore Regional District, and I want to thank my fellow directors for contributing to the $30,000 that Director Lee made reference to. So thank you. But more importantly, thank you to you, Veronica, and Anita, and Maria, and the entire team that Director Kerr was a part of for the initial stages. And I've had the pleasure of being a part of from day one and right through until the opening ceremony. So thank you for coming and providing the board with an update, and we look forward to having you return in the future and let us know how things are going. And the next goal is to meet that $7 million fundraising mark. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we have about 1.6 to go, so we're getting closer.
Awesome. Director Evans.
Thank you, Chair, and great to see you, Veronica.
Yay.
Yeah, really
Hi,
an exciting day for Campbell River and all of North Island at the opening. Very emotional, very moving. I know all the hard work that the staff and the entire team has been involved in to get us to that point that we are at with now being able to welcome guests in August. I just want to also just make a note of what an incredible day we had at the When Pigs Fly Radiothon and the incredible contributions that Campbell River businesses and local made to the campaign. It was exciting to be there, but what's really going to be exciting is when we actually see the families come to Qualayu House. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to the importance maybe of what is happening in the North Island and why this is so critical to be able to offer this service to the North Island, and maybe just a bit of the stats around what the difference is in terms of what's happening on the North Island. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity and lovely to see you, Colleen. We know Island Health and First Nation Health Authority has really provided some of the data around identifying and quantifying what the need is. You know better than anyone the distances that folks have to travel, whether they're coming from North Port Hardy, Port Alice, that direction, and particularly when women, for example, are having their first child. They are advised to move to get themselves closer to Campbell River in order to prepare for the birth. And, we know that there is a need for accommodation and support once they arrive in town. Really, we looked at and listened to many of the Indigenous clinicians, some of the Indigenous communities, the clinicians through Island Health, KDC Health, First Nation Health Authority, and really understood that the distance was a barrier to accessing healthcare in a timely way that would ensure the best health outcomes for, if it's a mom coming to town sooner to prepare for the birth of the child, then that was something that we understood and could see the numbers. North Island families do face a higher level of poverty. These are statistics that have been shared with us. More than 25% of children 18 or younger are living in low-income households. So we know that this home will be will alleviate some of that financial stress for families when they're accessing healthcare support for themselves or their children. And you know, it's really as in response to the feedback that we've received from community that we built the house. Yeah, there are the number of deliveries that are anticipated and have been tracked are much higher in the North Island than in other areas of BC. So we do see that, you know, expectant moms and families who have to travel subsequently to access healthcare for their kids are really going to be able to take advantage of the house.
Great, thank you, Veronica.
Excellent, thank you. Is there any other questions? Seeing none, then Veronica, I want to thank you. Congratulations. I truly look forward to seeing it. And I know, you know, coming from a small rural community, I know my next door neighbor right now has got to come to Campbell River next week, I think, because she's early August is her due date. So it's gonna be nice to have the place there. Yes. So thank you and congratulations.
Wow, fantastic.
And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care. Okay, directors, moving on. Item E.
Receipt of presentation.
Thank you. Seconder. Director Mulgrove, thank you. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Item E, adoption of the minutes for the regular board meeting June 30th.
Move adoption.
Second, Baker.
Mr. Wally, Director Baker, thank you.
Mr. Chair, can we have the agenda back up, please?
Yes, we can. Okay, I'll call question on the minutes. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Business arising from the minutes. I'll go to the CEO for a staff update on the master's bylaw. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll pass it to Aniko as she'll give us a verbal update. And then as well, we have legal counsel standing by for any questions from directors.
Thank you through the chair to the board. Good afternoon. I really appreciate the opportunity here to provide the board an update with respect to this file. I'd really like to make it very clear to the board how diligent staff has been on this file. We continue to field multiple complaints regarding this property on a daily basis. We are fielding emails both day and night from members of our community. We are very aware of communications over social media from up to 100 people with respect to the ongoings of the activities on this property. So please do know that staff is continuing to monitor this this site. We continue to enforce our bylaws. We continue to attend the site with the accompaniment of the RCMP. And following the last board meeting, we have actioned the remedial action. We have connected with our legal counsel and are seeking an injunction at this time. We have had correspondence from our legal counsel to the legal counsel of the property owner, and we have requested from our legal counsel, if at all possible, an expedited injunction with respect to the activities that are occurring on this property. We are fully aware that the property owner and his accomplices, for lack of a better word, continue to work against the do not occupy and the stop work order. We are aware that the roof has been completely removed. A lot of the internal sections of the building removed as well, along with a section of the back wall of the building. Our staff has connected with the removal company that the owner has been using to remove hazardous materials. And by doing that, the company is now aware that there are potentially hazardous materials there and is now looking to dispose of whatever's been provided in those bins accordingly. So we see that as a success. At this point, we are unable to physically stop the work that is occurring there. And like I said earlier, are seeking legal counsel to proceed. And I would love to turn it over to Troy D'Souza, our legal counsel, just to give you an update as to where they are at with our request for an injunction. Thank you.
Thanks, Aniko. If I'm able to just jump in and do a screen share, I'm not sure if I can do that, but I'll try to see if I can show a document that we have sent with a letter to Mr. Masters' solicitor. So I'm wondering if the board can see that letter right now.
Yes.
Can I
So
just
that was
ask a point of order question?
Yeah.
Why are we discussing legal matters in the open?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll go to Mr. Yates.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board may recall this matter was dealt with in open session at the last meeting or the meeting previous. That is certainly at the board's discretion. If the board feels that it wishes to go into closed session to discuss any aspect of this matter, then they're certainly free to do that. However, it has been dealt with in open session to date, so that is why.
Thank you, Mr. Yates.
So I'll just say, and I took that off just because I wanted to be cautious about how the board wanted to proceed. Thank you for that clarification, Chair. So 2 days ago, we were able to track down the lawyers. There's been a couple of questions as to who exactly was representing Mr. Masters. It turns out that it is Harry Wengatz who's transferring his practice to CR Lawyers. And so that's why we had some difficulty in terms of who's actually in control. We've sent this letter to him. We're still waiting a response. I've actually spoken to him before the letter was sent out to outline the urgency that the district has with the nuisance and the noise that's occurring on the property. Mr. Wengatz is very sympathetic with the district's position. It looks like it's an issue that he needs to, he said, talk sense into his client and to not put too much words into his mouth. And I'm still waiting to get that response. The most important thing was that this letter does provide a bit of an evidentiary foundation for us to proceed with a what's called a short notice application if we're failing to get the response in sufficient time. And the key thing we want to point out, I've highlighted that all that work that Mr. Masters seems to be doing here, it's actually the action and the enforcement taken by staff, which has been very diligent, has actually spurred him on to think that he can get work done and then beg forgiveness for it later, when in fact that's not going to be the case. And so we just wanted to outline that none of this work is going to be approved and will not get subsequently approved by the regional district, to sort of take that off the table on his urgency. We obviously can't control Mr. Masters and the people with him, with the exception of hiring Vinny and Bruno to come to the property, which we don't do legally. But we have to work with legal counsel to make sure that the messaging off the district and the order that's there is going to be complied with. So where we are in terms of getting short leave, that was a question that was raised by staff. Are we there in terms of the basis to get that sort of short notice? And the short answer is most likely. Okay, it's most likely. The things that work in the district's favor is the hazmat report, which outlines the carcinogens that are in the building structure, the board's resolution outlining the health and safety considerations, the notice provided in the letter that I'm showing you, but also and in an order, the noise disturbance and nuisance in the neighborhood. All those factors come into play and certainly will be for the court's consideration. One of the concerns, and probably the biggest ones that we take, is health and safety, even as it relates to Mr. Masters and his folks working on the property. We have to get that evidence through staff, and it will likely be an affidavit of Enzo Cala. And by us using that evidence, which is a report authored, commissioned by Mr. Masters, so he's the client, it's a little bit of hearsay because we're not going to have the authors of that report provide it, but we're going to get it indirectly. Should be okay because it's a civil matter, but there is a little bit of a slight risk where it's going to depend on how much the judge is seeing the broader picture and his willingness to get us the short leave type of order. So that's kind of where we stand. I'd say we have a 60% chance of getting that order. If we get the order, we're looking at moving fairly quickly in an actual application. Now, we do have counsel on the other side, so counsel may have some issues in terms of them being able to coordinate schedules, but we should be able to get it within about 3 weeks or so. If we're unable to get the short leave order, it'll be about 2 to 3 months before we're actually heard in court. So that's the timeline that we're working at right now. And this would proceed by way of petition. So we've got the petition that we've got to put together. We've got affidavits, likely from just one person on staff, which would be Mr. Callow. That won't take us very long to do. But we also want to follow up certainly with council and with staff to see what the current situation is on the ground. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on the process.
Great, thank you. So I've got Director Abram and then Director Moglove. Director Abram, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I'm a little confused on why on earth it would take time whatsoever other than a day to get an injunction against something of this magnitude. I hear daily of individuals, companies, groups, whatever, applying for an injunction and getting it that day. Now, why are we looking at anything from days, weeks, many months when there's danger to property, life, all kinds of things in this situation? Why isn't this just being looked at by the court saying, yeah, here's your injunction, get the hell out of the property, and away we go? Well, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, well, part of the reason is that the courts actually care less about the results, more about the process. So what we're asking for the courts when we say we need a short notice application is we're suspending due procedure rules, which are part and parcel of the court process. So if we're going to do that, there has to be a very compelling case that the court's willing to make that. I'll give you an example as a local government. We've applied previously on dealing with tent city matters, which, you know, in the face of it, are public trespass of a very significant nature. And in some cases, the courts have granted short leave. In other cases, they've not. And part of that is their concern over that process. I think we probably have often heard about things can matter, things can go pretty quickly. You might hear a news report of that and maybe some anecdotal type stories, but the reality is in the court process, most short leave applications are rejected.
Okay, thank you. Director Lee.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. D'Souza and staff, ANACO. I'm the director for the area where this problem is taking place. Daily, I'm receiving numerous complaints from local residents, ranging from, you know, somebody being strangled a couple times to loud parties that go on till 4 in the morning, drug and alcohol fueled parties outside, chainsaws being used to remove the roof, with people without safety equipment up there with cigarettes hanging out of their mouths. I've sent all the pictures and all the complaints through to our staff and by law enforcement. So Enzo has all of the complaints with pictures to back them up. I did talk to the RCMP yesterday because I was really concerned that they were receiving upwards of 80 complaints on their non-emergency line, but I was concerned about how reports of violence that were happening on the property that could actually result in somebody's death, how the residents are supposed to deal with that. If the RCMP, they will come out, they won't come out on every single noise complaint bylaw, but if it was an emergency, life and death, they would definitely come out. So I have advised the neighborhood to please call 911 if there is an endangerment to, you know, someone's life. And so they all know to do that now. It is a really serious situation, and we really need to get a handle on this as soon as possible, because, you know, somebody's going to get really harmed.
Dr. Lee, do you have a question to legal?
No, I just wanted to say that
Okay.
I don't know if the RCMP can give any statements regarding
Okay.
their interactions on the site to help with, if they can give any affidavits to help with the short, what's it called?
It's called a short leave.
Short notice application.
So just with respect to any matters involving criminal code offenses, which I appreciate there may be, I would continue to encourage the complainants to contact 911, because those are obviously serious offenses. The challenge what we're dealing with on a civil matter, and this is a civil matter, not criminal, is that these are regulatory offenses. And so in the state of priorities with the court, they're looking at it from a, okay, well, these are regulatory offenses. Yes, disturbances are there. Yes, I think the noise is going to be a big issue, but it's extremely rare for courts to grant short leave on a noise disturbance, as difficult that may be. Where the strength of the regional district's case is health and safety. And health and safety, there is a hazmat report outlining the carcinogens. So you're actually trying to not just protect the people working on that property, but in fact, Mr. Masters himself, who's carrying on the activity. And you may have a judge that's going to say, well, you know what, they're property owners, eventually this will get sorted out. Or the judge will say, based on the health and safety issues here, we'll need to have them stop. And that's what that's our plan, is to make the short leave notice application to get to court quickly, to suspend the rules and make us move quickly. So we are certainly have already dealt with legal counsel. With legal counsel, it makes it a little bit more another step in the process. There's no unrepresented parties where we can just bulldoze our way into court, as sometimes we've done for local governments. There's a counsel involved, so there's going to be some caution certainly with them and the senior counsel to deal with. But make no mistake, we're going to move as quickly as we can to the application, and as soon as that application is filed, the board will be notified, and it should hopefully be able to provide the public with some level of action that's being taken.
Thank you. Director Mogulof.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. D'Souza, for your presentation. And as a former lawyer, I do understand the procedural issues and frustrations that those procedural issues can cause. I've had it in my career way back when. A couple of questions. Assuming we do get successful in the short leave and we get to court for the injunction, what will the injunctive relief actually be seeking? And will that include demolition of the building if necessary? Will it include the asking for an order that the RCMP assist in the enforcement of anything if necessary? So what will the injunctive relief actually ask for? Because I would hate to see a situation where we get the injunctive relief and then we have to go back for an enforcement of the injunctive relief.
Right, and that's a really good question. So there's actually going to be two parts with this legal process. One is the short leave application that's going to be made to allow us to go to court quickly to deal with the merits of the matter. The merits of the matter are going to largely relate to the board's resolution on remedial orders that's been made. So we're going to seek to enforce that, which will include having to have these folks leave the property, take whatever action that we need to execute the direction and order of the board, which is moving towards demolition of the structure and anything else we need to get. So it's largely going to be framed within the resolutions that the board has already made.
Will it include the enforcement by the RCMP if that becomes necessary? Because I know when I practice law, sometimes we'd have to go back to court a second time to enforce the orders we already got, because the RCMP won't get involved without that type of enforcement clause in the injunction.
So I will put that in our application. We'll certainly seek it. And as you may appreciate, sometimes the court is reluctant to put that in the earlier order because they're expecting compliance. Now, we know in the real world that doesn't happen. So if there's a basis for us to indicate that Mr. Masters simply won't comply, we're going to put that in, and we'll have it in anyway. We'll certainly make the pitch for that so that it would be a one-shot deal. Everything can happen at that point, and then enforcement can take place. But one thing I should also advise is that, so with the two-part process, short leave gets us in. So a successful application says, great, we're suspending the rules of court. We're going to be in court within 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what the court advises us. And then we deal with the merits of that application. If our application is opposed, and remember now there is counsel on the other side, so we don't know what their position may be. If that application is imposed, then the court may weigh both the applications, ours and theirs, in terms of their defense. There may be some legal issues in terms of statutes and case law that they'll have to consider, maybe some facts, and they may actually reserve their decision. So you wouldn't get a decision on that day. It may take some more time for the court to make reasons. So there's still a lot of delays that may result in the process, but those delays won't be by us. It'll be simply how the court or the justice decides to manage this case.
Thanks. And I just have one more question. It's sort of a two-parter though, and it's actually more maybe looking to the future. And the question is there a way to do sort of a conditional injunction, i.e. had we 2 months ago when this all came forward, is there a way to do a conditional injunction? And then the second part of that is moving forward, are there any limitations? And then maybe I don't need an answer today, I guess, but any limitations in our bylaws that we could strengthen the bylaws to give staff or whatever more power, I suppose, in a situation like this? Because I think it's been frustrating for everyone, staff included, that there's only so much we can do with the bylaws. So I don't think I need an answer today, but just putting a bug in staff's ear or whoever, if we ever have this type of situation again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other first-time speakers? If not, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Chair. And just through to staff, just want to confirm when Mr. Masters did his presentation to the board, he indicated that he was going to be moving forward with some permitting or some additional contacts that had been indicated would be required. I think I know the answer, but I just want to hear directly from staff. You didn't receive any additional permitting or anything from Mr. Masters in between the time that he indicated during his presentation and when he said that he would be receiving some of this information.
I'll go to Aniko.
Thank you. Thank you through the chair to the director. As of 3 minutes ago, we have received nothing from Mr. Masters.
Thank you for confirming.
Okay, if there's no other further first-timers, Director Abram, do you have another question?
Yes, thank you. So, Mr. D'Souza, your language throughout your presentation sounds to me like you have not made application for this injunction at this point. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, obvious question. How come we haven't made application when this has been before us now a number of board meetings, which are 2 weeks apart?
Well, we were just retained on this last week. We've just been retained.
Okay.
So if I can, Mr. Chair, just jump in. If the board remembers when we we delayed process on Mr. Masters in order to hear him. So the board instructed us to basically not move forward until we heard from Mr. Masters. Once we heard from him, the board said, proceed, and then we've retained GovLaw in the meantime. So the delay was in the board's desire to hear from Mr. Masters.
Correct.
So now at this point, now you've heard from the board before, and now you've heard, sounds like from the board today, we want to go for the injunction. So how long will that process take to begin from today?
That process has already begun. So as Troy has explained to us, he, starting last week, has begun that process, and optimistically, he hopes that we can get a short order injunction within 3 weeks. If we're unsuccessful with that, I think he said we're looking at a couple months.
Okay, I did hear all that, and it just boggles my mind that when you have a dangerous situation, that you can't get an injunction tomorrow.
Well, that's the way the law works, I guess, unfortunately.
Yeah, and just maybe to add to that, and I appreciate there's so many other variables, including the criminal, the dangerous situations, but ultimately as a local government, we're proceeding with our bylaws. We're proceeding with regulatory enforcement, not criminal enforcement. If it was, we just don't have that authority. So we proceed as a statutory injunction based on the board's resolution. So it's and based on the rule of law. So we're coming at it with that process. In some of these cases, even with a tent city, where there are in fact ongoing active criminal matters that are going, courts don't care about those because they're making the assumption that the police will deal with the criminal matters. And I reiterate, if there are criminal dangerous matters occurring, the police, the RCMP should be called out at every instance to deal with them. But all I can deal with is the regulatory matter, which is set up by the community charter, the regional, so the local government act. So that's our authority. That's how we proceed. But we are going to move fairly quickly. I understand Mr. Calla today is in Tassus. As soon as he gets back, we'll be having a meeting to start putting together his affidavit, and then it's just a matter of filing the process, and away we go.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any further questions.
I have one more question, Mr. Chair. It's Director Lee again. I was just wondering if the opportunity that the board gave for Mr. Masters to present his case on June the 30th, whether that would help our plea to the courts that we have tried to work with the Masters, but he has not fallen in line with what our expectations are, but we have given him an opportunity to present his side. And I do think that's a fair way to go, and I'm just asking Mr. D'Souza whether that would reflect favorably on the regional district in our case.
Yeah, it will, and that'll be included in Mr. Calla's affidavit as well.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more. Thanks to staff, Aniko, Mr. Sozo, everybody, and to the residents that are involved. As neighbors, it's been very difficult, and unfortunately, it's a process we have to go through, but I thank you all. So
Mr. Chair, may I ask, do you need any motions to support the current action that we're taking? Because I sent in an advance notice of a motion that could be maybe considered if you want to put that up.
No, as staff said, we're good as we are now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to receive our verbal update, please? Director Evans, Director Mogul, thank you. No further discussion. I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item G, public considerations. There's nothing. No notice of motions. Chair's report. I have nothing to say other than it's summertime, and I think after today, we get a little bit of a break, so everybody enjoy yourself and take some time off, other than you, Mr. Yates, apparently. Consent calendar, nothing. On committee chair reports, First Nations Committee Relations, motion to receive the report. Director Moglove, second by Director Evans. Anything to add, CAO?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Cool. Don't see any discussion. I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item 2, Municipal Service Committee report. Motion to receive. Director Evans. Seconder, Director Davis. And Director Davis wants to speak. Go ahead with Director Davis.
I had a question regarding that meeting. Maybe I misremembered, but I thought we added Zabalos to the motion regarding creating a regional transportation service resolution.
Mr. Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question of Zabalos being part of the study was certainly mentioned, but it was not actually made part of the motion. However, I don't know that that is critical for the board today. If the board is, and this does come up later in the agenda, if the board is willing to have the study done, that would automatically look at all of the small communities on the West Coast, including Zabalos.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay. Any further questions? Director Adams.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Davis. My understanding was that the conversation that it was by consensus that the Municipal Services Committee directors agreed that it would be more of a broader regional service. It's unfortunate that that is not reflected in the minutes. So would it be appropriate to make that amendment now?
I think Director Adams, under shared transportation service, I think it'll be covered under there where it kind of speaks about residents, communities on the West Coast. So if we want to maybe put in the names, we can there. But I think it's covered there.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that the intent of the discussion is not reflective in the motion.
Okay, I understand. Any other discussion? Director Davis?
No, I'll just put my hand down.
Okay. On receipt, I'll call question. Anyone opposed? Carried. No external reports under M. Staff reports. First one, Comox Valley Regional District Development Proposal, referral RZ 2C20 Saratoga Speedway. Motion to receive the report.
Move receipt.
Director Lee, seconder.
Wally.
Director Wally. I'll go to the CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe John Neal will speak to this for.
Thank
you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is a development referral from the Comox Valley Regional District respecting a proposal to develop a campground just north of the Saratoga Speedway park in electoral area C of the CVRD. The proposed campground would cover 8 hectares, would to be 168 sites in size, and it would also be an opportunity for the Saratoga Speedway to bring their racetrack into compliance with zoning, because currently it's a non-conforming use of land. So the applicants are proposing some noise mitigation features to be included, including a 3-meter high noise mitigation berm planted with cedars along Macaulay Road, corrugated steel paneling behind the grandstand area, and a 1.2 meter high concrete wall with a 2.4 meter high wooden wall surrounding much of the racetrack. And further discussion relates to the potential impact on the Black Creek Oyster Bay water service, which is operating near capacity during the summer months. And the applicants are proposing using an on-site well to provide water to the campsite. And the proposal is supported by an engineering and traffic impact study prepared by McElhaney and is compliant with the CVRD OCP policies in respect to tourist, commercial and economic policies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Questions, Director Lee?
Thank you very much. Electoral Area D is on the boundary of the proposed RV site and the Speedway. I have had comments from residents about the potential noise of the proposal for the Speedway. People in Area D can hear the noise from the Speedway on weekends and holidays all the way down to Lambeth Road, which is quite a ways north of the Discovery Foods Plaza, and it is disturbing to them. What I found a little shocking about Mr. Neal's presentation was that he said there were 168 RV sites being planned and that they would be put onto wells. That is not the impression that I got from the Black Creek Oyster Bay Services Committee when a water application was for a development cost charge and comprehensive cost charge bylaw was put in front of the Black Creek Oyster Bay Committee. I thought it was 128 sites, but if it's 168, that makes the impact on our water system even worse. And the fact that the CVRD is collecting DCCs and other charges for water hookups, it indicates that they're probably not going to be using wells on the property. So I had sent in a motion in advance of the meeting that Edie could put up, and I'd like to make that motion now, so that we have a proper response to this referral.
Yeah, we're still on receipt right now.
Okay, so once this receipt is over, could I please put my motion up?
Thank you. Okay, Director Abram.
I just wanted to say that, you know, as far as noise is concerned, I'm not sure when those properties were developed, but as far as I recall, Saratoga Speedway's been there forever. So they were probably a pre-existing use. And if anybody moving into the area should have known that it was going to be loud. I can hear Saratoga Speedway on Saturday nights on Quadra Island. So it's, you know, expected. As far as, you know, the rest of it, this is, it's a regional district referral from another regional district out of courtesy, or I should say out of bylaw or local government act, but same time, it is most affecting Area D residents, Area C residents of the CVRD. So I'll just keep my mouth shut.
Okay, thank you. Director Adams.
Thank you, Chair. And I agree with the comment that the racetrack has been there probably before the majority of the residents. However, as per previous applications on the water system down in the Black Creek Oyster River area, I was consistently opposed due to the fear of just the increased demand on that service. And what we are seeing with the exponential growth and development south of the Oyster River, just want to ensure that we are maintaining our funded share and capacity of water for that system. And I look forward to Director Lee's subsequent motion. Thank you.
Is there any other further questions? See none on receipt, I'll call question. Is anyone opposed? Carried. And Director Lee?
Yes, I would like to make the motion that I forwarded to Edith. So if she could put it up for everyone to see. Thank you. And I would just like to comment one thing about Director Abrams' comments. The board should know that my father was president of the Oyster River Racing Association for more than 20 years. He was their #1 driver for most of that time. He was racing a 57 Chevy. It's way different than the drag racers and the monster trucks and all of the smoke shows and the noise that they create now. It's a very different animal now. So it's very disturbing to people, and we need to get a handle on having some input into this. So anyway,
Okay,
and I'm
let's go
especially
with
worried
your
about the
motion.
water. So the motion, do I read it, or that the Strathcona Regional District advised the CVRD board that it does have concerns with the proposed comprehensive development zone at Saratoga Speedway as follows. Water. There is a limited supply in the Oyster River area for summertime activities that draw down our water supplies to critical levels. We are concerned that, and it should read 168 if the planner has said it's 168 RV units, including, I lost my place here. 168 RV units included in this comprehensive development zone will further exacerbate the already stressed community water supply system. And the Oyster River needs to have water flows sufficient for migrating salmon in the early fall. RV site approval should be contingent upon each unit providing their own water. Otherwise, the number of RV units proposed should be reduced to a maximum of 30 units in the bylaw. And on noise abatement, there needs to be noise mitigation on the north side of the Speedway so that Oyster River residents and park users at the Oyster River Trails in Area D are not unduly disturbed by noise when the Speedway is in operation on weekends and holidays. That's my motion.
Second.
Mr. Chair, did you hit the button there when you speak? Can you hear us, Tom or Brad?
I can hear you, Dave. That's Jim.
I think we may be having the same issue we had this morning with we can't hear them. Just
Can you hear me now?
yeah, we can.
Okay.
Incredible echo. Bazuna.
I'll just give them a second here. Claire, you're in the building, aren't you? In the boardroom? Yeah, we can't hear her now either.
Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm in my office though. I think what we'll need to do, like we did this morning, just take a 5-minute break here. Hello? Yeah, we figured that out, yeah. Okay. So the chair and Tom, everyone in the boardroom can hear us, but we clearly can't hear them. There was an issue with Teams this morning. Looks like we're having the same issue. So speaking for the chair, he sent me a text that let's just take a 5-minute break and we'll reconvene here.
Is there any sense in logging out and back in, or?
Just stay tuned. I'm gonna run downstairs.
Okay.
I
Okay.
had the floor, Mr. Chair?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, what I was saying was that, because the motion's not on the board right now, but I was hoping that the mover would agree that we could do them separately, the issue of the water concern and the issue of the noise concern. And if that was agreeable, then I just want to ask Director Lee if that would be agreeable to her.
That would be fine by me. I don't
Okay.
mind.
So once we get that motion back on the screen, I did actually have an amendment I'd like to suggest for the water, for the motion regarding the water concerns. But I
Okay,
don't
so
see it on the
let's,
screen just yet.
let's get the motion on the,
Okay,
okay, so right now the motion, we're gonna do the water only.
yeah. And
And
my amendment suggestion is that we stop the motion after the words "in the early fall," which is the fourth line from the bottom. And if I get a seconder, I'll explain why.
I'm fine with that too.
Oh, okay.
And
So
so
my
am I.
rationale is that.
And
I
so
think
am I
there
as
is-
the seconder.
Okay, so there are concerns about water, but I don't think we need to suggest the solution. There may be other solutions but I think it's important that we address or say that we have concerns about this water and that we, as a board, are assured and have because this issue of water has risen several times in the last couple of years, and I think we need to be really careful. So that's my amendment.
Okay, so it's been moved
So
and
would you
moved
be
and
amending?
seconded.
Would you be amending to remove RV site approval, that final part?
Yes.
So delete that part then, Edith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right,
Could I
any
have
other,
clarity on that, please? Yes,
Director Abram,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chair. Okay, so the way it reads on the screen is water flow is sufficient for the migrating salmon in the early fall. You wanted
Correct.
to leave it at that?
yes,
Yes.
that's the
Okay,
motion right now.
Leave. Okay, and that is not really the only concern with water flow in the river. It's concerning fish populations. So I think that would be a broader way of looking at it.
Okay, let's not
To be
get
talking about
wording
sufficient
here.
water for,
Yeah,
I'm not wordsmithing, I'm
Okay.
saying that the concern is for sufficient water flow for fish populations. There are cutthroat trout, there's all kinds of other trout, and there's migrating salmon in the early fall. They're
Okay.
all dependent on that water flow. So if you just change those couple of words, and it just said water flow is sufficient for fish
Aquatic
populations.
habitat. Aquatic habitat.
There you go, it's even simpler.
Director Mogul, are you okay with that?
You're muted.
yes.
Okay, so we're gonna change the words, flow for the migrating salmon habitat.
Aquatic, AQUATIC, aquatic.
Okay,
Aquatic species in the early fall.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah.
Well, if you're including trout and I don't know, other things that might be, depending on the
Aquatic
water.
habitat is just sufficient. I think staff can take it
Yeah.
from there if this passes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sufficient for aquatic habitat, period.
Yeah.
You don't need early fall.
okay, so,
Okay,
so easy take out in the early fall.
Period.
perfect.
Let's take out in it.
Okay,
Yay.
so on the amendment, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, carried. And the second part would be the noise attack Badman.
I think we
Motion,
have to vote on the main motion on the water.
sorry, correct, sorry, thank you. So on the main motion, I'll call question. Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you, Director McGlove. So on the second part, the noise abatement, do I need a motion?
Noise abatement. There needs to be noise mitigation on the north side of the Speedway so that Oyster River residents and park users in Area D are not unduly disturbed by noise when the Speedway is in operation on weekends and holidays.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
A second with a friendly
Director Adams?
to delete the on weekends and holidays. I think it should be 24/7. So it's just Speedway is
Okay,
in operation.
fine, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there could be a lot of noise when they're practicing during the
Good.
week.
So it's anytime, okay. So that's a friendly, I'll take that. So there's your motion, is there any discussion? Director Mogul.
No, I think Director Dahl was first.
Okay, Director Dahl.
I'm just wondering if anyone here lives close enough to the Speedway that they can hear it on a regular basis now, and if they've noticed any difference this year. The track was built in 1968, and I raced there for over 20 years, and the previous owners did nothing at all to deal with noise abatement, which was something that the racers talked about lots. The new owner has spent millions, literally millions of dollars over the past 6 months. And one of the things that they've done is build a wall all the way around the track that would make a significant impact to the noise that leaves, the way it leaves the track. So I'm just wondering if there's anyone that can give us an answer on the differences that have been made since they've reopened for the first time with noise mitigation in place.
Director Adams.
Thank you, and that's why, for the reasons that Director Dahl is stating, that's why I'm agreeing to this motion. I think we've heard in the report that they are proposing some additional noise abatement, but they may have already done some other stuff. What this motion does is just put it on the table for a report back as to what's been done and what is planned, and just provide some clarification.
Thank you, Director Adams. Director Mogul.
Thanks. I actually think that the report is sufficient on this issue, and so I can't support this part of the motion. That's why I asked for them to be done separately. This is a speedway that, as Director Dahl has pointed out and others have stated, has been there for a very long time. And having this type of wording that it's not unduly disturbed, what does that mean? Some people will be, I used to live on just off of York Road, and I could hear the speedway Saturday night. Was I unduly disturbed? Some, I wasn't, but someone who moved in after me might consider that to be unduly disturbed. So I can't support this as presented. I think the report is sufficient.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other hands up, so I'll call.
If I could speak to that, I have already received letters requesting that I put forward, the concerns of the people north of the Oyster who live as far away as Lambeth Road. I know that's where my letter came from, the main one, saying that they find it very disturbing. And as I say, racing is different now than it was when my dad was, racing down there. It's very, very different. There's very much more power, and there's different types of shows that have monster trucks and very large noisy engines that will be disturbing for people. And if they're already planning to put up walls around, then it wouldn't hurt them to put up berms around outside the walls to make sure the noise doesn't head north.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other further discussion, so I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed?
Dahl is opposed.
Director Mogul, I'm opposed.
Kerr is opposed. Baker's opposed.
Okay, I'll call question. That was be carried then. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Next item, forestry challenges, Vancouver Island. Motion to receive the report from the CEO.
Move receipt.
Dr. Wally, second by
Second.
Dr. Adams and the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing to add, but Tom, could you put up the agenda? Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On receipts, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. And item B, the letter.
Oh, yes. Mr. Chair, I had sent in an advanced motion on this.
Okay, well, there's a motion here, so.
Oh, well, Edith could put up mine.
So, Mr. Chair, just
yeah,
maybe to state the obvious, the motion is the motion that was supported by the Municipal Services Committee. That is what the staff motion is here. So
yeah, the motion that staff recommended right here come from the MSC. The letter be sent to Ministry of Forest, encourage the ministry to become more involved in research and distribution of science-based information.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong motion. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a mover?
Move that, Davis.
Second, Evans.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, I have one thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry, who, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Director Abram?
Okay, I just want to say there should be one word added in there, and it should say encouraging the ministry to become involved in all research and distribution of science-based information. Not just ministry research or whatever, but research comes from academia, it comes from NGOs, it comes from all kinds of people. And it should all be compiled and weighed against each other.
Is that an amendment?
I'll take that just as a friendly.
Well, actually, I disagree. I don't think that is a friendly, but I'll ask that whoever moved it can say whether it is or isn't.
That would be me. I'm pretty happy with the motion as it is now. I mean, some minor modifications maybe, but I think it really speaks to the issue. I mean, originally, I think Director Adams had brought it forward as fact-based, and unfortunately, facts is a loaded term these days. So I think we agreed on science-based. We've already done some wordsmithing on this, but if anybody wants to try again, feel free, I guess.
Okay, leave it as it is right now then. Director Anderson.
Thank you. Having not listened to the recording from the Municipal Services Committee, I don't know what this is getting at. I have no idea. What are we wanting the ministry to do? To send out research to whom? About what? For what purpose? Is this an anti-old growth logging? Is this a pro-log? Like, I just have no clue where this comes from. A bit of background would be useful, because if I was at the Ministry of Forest and I received a letter just said, please distribute science-based information, I wouldn't have any idea what to do.
Okay, thank you. The background, if I recall from the MSC, is just basically asking the Ministry of Forest to be more involved in the research and distribution of science-based. Basically, that's what we're asking for. We're not talking about old growth or anything like that. And other MSC members, Director Davis?
Yeah, if I could speak to this, I know my feeling behind it is that Ministry of Forests over the last couple of decades has really backed away from information gathering and left it more to the private sector. And I think that's part of the reason we have so many issues in forestry at the moment, is that the government hasn't been taking the lead in information gathering. I remember, a year or so ago, I had a presentation in the same day from the Ministry of Forests and Sierra Club, and Sierra Club actually had better information than the ministry staff did, which was pretty surprising and unfortunate. I think if we're going to have good discussions on these, the government should really be taking the lead in information gathering. So that's my personal rationale behind this motion.
Okay, thank you.
And so just a clarification. So if the person who writes this letter is clear of that, and that is our understanding, I could support it. But I think it could be much clearer by saying something like, would take a more active approach to, forestry research within the ministry, or I just involved in, I just don't know what you're aiming at with that wording. So if whoever's going to write it has a really clear sense of what this is about, and it is what Director Davis just said, that's fine.
Okay, we'll make sure it's written correctly. Director Wally.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to point out that since provincial government involved itself in stewardship agreements with industry, it has left it up to industry to provide all its scientific background for the things that it does, and really the ministry has very little to do with it.
Okay, thank you. Director Lee?
I just had a quick question, a minor thing, but is there a Minister of Forest, or is it the Minister of Forest, Lands and Natural Resources?
It's Forest, Lands and Natural Resources, yeah.
Yeah, I think that needs to be clarified in the motion.
Oh, no. Duly noted, yeah. Okay, I don't see any other questions. I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Shared Transportation Service. Motion to receive the report from CEO.
Move receipt.
Director Wally, seconder.
Second.
Director Mogul, thank you, and the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing to add, but unless Director wants to make some amendments to the resolution, the recommendation that we have there.
Great, thank you. On receipt, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. And on item B, the further report of possibility of transportation service to connect the residents and the communities on the west coast with Cam River be prepared for the board's consideration. That's the motion. Davis and Mogul, I believe, and questions. Director Wally?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not clear on this motion if this is intended to be a joint service between the municipalities that are interested in this, or exactly where is this supposed to be heading?
How would CEO?
I would consider it looking at a report of the possibility of a regional transportation service, or sub-regional at least.
Okay, the reason I bring this up is sub-regional might possibly fly. A regional service definitely won't.
I can barely hear what's going on. Not even enough to catch who's moving and seconding, so I hope that.
I'll try and mark them down.
I think Tom's catching it up there too, but just so you know, I'm having difficulties. If they want motions on the fly, I can't hear it.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We just talked, 80's had some problems up there, so. Next on, I have Director Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wouldn't be interested in a regional service because from Campbell River southward, we have the Tofino Bus Company serving our populations. So we'd be competing with a commercial operation that, as we know, the commercial buses are struggling to survive. Greyhound went out of business and removed all their services, and luckily Tofino Bus Company is supplying some services, but I don't want to have any service that would make it harder for Tofino to make a profit, the Tofino Bus Company. So, we're not in the bus running business, and I understand if the West Coast wants to have a service connecting to the East Coast, that's fine, but it would be a sub-regional service.
Well, I just want to I'll quickly just remind Director Lee that we are a regional district board.
And we are each an electoral area service that doesn't need
Okay.
to join in on everything that the municipalities dream up. So, you know, that's what
Okay,
I'm
that's
saying,
fine.
is that it would be better to consider the commercial operations that are already in existence and try not to put them out of business by setting up a service that might compete with them.
Well, right now, there's no service on the west and the north side of the island, so that's why we're looking at it, is my perspective of it. So, thank you. I'll go Director Adams.
Thank you, and certainly appreciate and respect the position of the electoral area directors. This is a recommended motion that came from the municipal services that is there should anything want to be considered by any electoral area, but you're completely at your discretion. The intent of this motion is to serve Gold River, Tassos, and Zabelis.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll go back to Director Evans.
Thank you, Chair. And Director Adams also spoke to what I was going to say, that I think it is an elective, but we need the report. I think it's an important opportunity for us to look at what is currently available. And again, the designated areas are the West Coast and North Island. That's what we're looking at. So I would be supportive of a report going forward. Just for clarification, the intent of this motion would be that staff would also be looking at services that currently exist and potentially opportunities to look at broadening if that desire was there. Just wanted to get some sense of the what the scope of the report would include.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Davis.
Yeah, if I could just provide some history to everybody of this, because I realize you're not all on MSC, but this originally started in Tassos because we have real issues with transportation in and out, especially in the winter, people that can't drive the road or their vehicles are damaged because the road is so bad. So we've been trying to put something together in Tassos, but we're realizing that there'd be synergies in working with other communities with this. And I know Gold River is supportive. I believe Sakana would be. I've had some preliminary conversations there. And then I believe Director Adams said that it would probably be useful to involve Zabelis with this. Now, what we were looking at was hopefully purchasing some sort of shuttle bus that can move people in and out from Tassos, Gold River, and Sakana in a day. But it would only need to be once a week at the most. So there could be synergies in involving other communities and having it go out to those communities on other days. It could be Zabelis, possibly even Sayward, although I know they have a service of some sort. So there's certainly strength in numbers in this. I know with Tassos, we'll put something together if this is defeated, but it's going to be a real struggle for us financially to make this work. So that's why we're bringing it forward at the regional level. Thanks.
Thank you. Dr. Abram.
Thank you. I make lots of notes on my agenda where it says add note. And on this one, I didn't put any notes. I read the entire piece that was there, and I saw no harm whatsoever in having a further report, the possibility of a transportation service to connect the residents and the communities on the West Coast with Campbell River, that it be prepared for the board's consideration. And I took it to mean, and I believe it said it, that this would be between those communities. It is a sub-regional service. That's the way I read it. If I read it wrong, then I might have something to say. But as it reads right now, it is a sub-regional service. It's a subset of our regional district getting together and saying that we would like to have a transportation service to join us. I see no harm in that whatsoever and no reason for non-support. I think it's a good thing to have the report come back and tell us, if you tell us that we all have to join it, we all have to pay for it, even though none of us in the islands can use it, then I would have something else to say about it. But right now, I support it.
Thank you. And Director Anderson, I'm having a problem with my chat thing here, so I think Director Anderson has your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that this came from, a letter from an individual community through MSC, but this is certainly has a larger and longer history at the regional district. If I'm not mistaken, we did prioritize transportation as one of our strategic priorities before the last election, I think. And we've certainly had reports before this board through the Health Network's work and Libby King's work, who I know has conducted community meetings on Cortez and Sayward. I believe both Zabalas and Tassos. There was some attempt at Quadra. I'm not sure what happened there. Gold River, certainly a priority of the Health Network. And my understanding is that some years ago, we were going to have a report back to us on the possibility of shared transportation service potentially throughout the region. Now, I am one of the rural directors who would very warmly welcome a serious discussion about a regional transportation service or sub-regional ones. I think it's highly overdue. And so my question is through to staff about where we are at with that broader piece of work and how this would fit into that, because this looks like it kind of comes out of a void, which is not the case.
CEO?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm not certain about the broader piece of work Director Anderson is talking about, but if this motion passes, we will certainly look at, a sub-regional transportation service, what it looks like, what it may cost, who could be involved, potential partners, the whole 9 yards.
So could I then ask that if this passes, that all of the work that the Health Network and the SRD through the Health Network has done be revisited, because there's a good body of work that has happened there already?
Well, there is some synergies here. Yeah, we have talked to the Health Network on a number of issues that have transportation related problems. So transportation is an issue on a number of community health network challenges. And so I think there's some real synergies that can be accomplished through this. And again, looking at a report, we would look at potential partnerships. There's all kinds of agencies that are moving people in and out of communities. One of them is clearly, VHA. They are providing transportation. And what staff would look at is all those opportunities to kind of to maximize the potential synergies behind these organizations and create some economies of scale.
Okay, thank you. Director Jewell.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I just had a question. I hear the three places from Gold River, Tassos, and Zabalas. I was just wondering if Kayukit would be involved in the conversation, as well as our destination's Fair Harbor, which is about given the driver half hour to 45 minutes away from Zabalas. So it's just a question I put out there, is if that was ever brought up, or if it could be.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's where we get the West Coast, so that's everybody.
That's
I
my
would take it.
understanding.
Okay, I just heard the 3 places, so I was just getting some clarification. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Jules. And I see I got Director Lee and Director Adams for a second time speaking. Director Lee.
Just a question. I'm hoping that any report that comes back will examine already existing commercial transportation companies. I'm trying to remember what happened to Island Links that linked Cortez to Vancouver Island. I believe they went out of business, but I could be wrong on that. But I'd like to know what happened to Island Links, where Tofino Bus Company is providing service, and to ensure that regional district is not competing with the private sector.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure it'll be in the report.
Yes.
Director Adams.
Thank you. And just to respond to Director Jules, the Municipal Services Committee was extremely cognizant and respectful that we did not want to put people's names on without having them present to be able to provide input. So it was an omission with intent that this would then come to the board and as you have done today, express a desire to be considered, and we appreciate that. But it was done in a respectful manner rather than by omission.
Thank you, Director Adams. Okay, I see no further.
Can I just put something in the chat? It's a suggested and further that, just for real clarity, to involve all the previous good work that has happened here at the district. I don't know if you want to take that as a subsequent or an amendment.
I'm just looking forward to the chat.
I'd take that as a friendly.
It reads, and that staff include in the report all previously relevant SRD strategic and board direction and health network work on regional transportation matters.
Okay, so Director Davis has seconded it. Who seconded that? Was it Director Adams?
I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
If there is no seconder, Director Evans will second that.
Okay.
I have a further comment. I don't know if you can see my hand up, but
I do know.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just want to say it should be self-evident, but the intent of this isn't to supplant any commercial operations. It's really to augment what's already there, because we're looking at areas that don't have strong commercial potential for a bus service. And to run this as a nonprofit, I would think would be a more effective solution. So that's why we're bringing this forward.
Correct. Director Colburn.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I really appreciate the conversation that's happened and have waited, just till the end to kind of put my 2 cents in. I think that in this large area in the north, there is some huge gaps, and I think we would be very happy to be included in that conversation and talk about, how that would happen, even with the possible challenges of our access being through Mount Washington. So, just adding that extra layer in there, which may be a little more than staff was really looking towards, but really the access from Cayuga, Zavalis, and the area A out here is through Mount Waddington. So, having that as a consideration as well, and maybe any synergies that could be available there through the Mount Waddington service. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Colburn. I don't see any other questions, so I'll just have a quick chime in here, guys. That's exactly what I was going to bring up, Director Colburn, is if somehow we can just slip in the wording there and have the staff have discussion with Mount Waddington Regional District as maybe part of the report, having discussion with them, and maybe including Port Hardy, Port McNeil, coming right down. So I don't know if the mover would be accept that as a friendly, or if you want to just add a subsequent.
Chair, I'm open to that, although at this point, I think we need a revised motion that we can see.
Yeah, I'm hoping Edie, I'm not sure whether she can do that at this time. If not, I'll do my best.
Mr. Chair, if I can help out, I think just at the end of this motion that says that includes discussions with Mount Waddington Regional District, as far as direction to staff, that would be clear enough.
Okay, so and that's including with the add-on that Director Anderson put in there also, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so is everybody okay with that?
Yep,
No.
that's fine with the seconder.
Okay,
Yes.
So Chair, just a point of order question, is the motion to put forward a further that addition to the existing motion, or we just keep you, sorry, are we
it's all
taking
one
them as
motion.
one?
One motion.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed?
Excuse me, I have my hand up.
Director Abram.
Thank you.
Oh.
Before you call the question, I would like to. The addition of Mount Waddington Regional District, Port McNeil, Port Hardy is going to do nothing but make this so complex that it's not going to happen. If you keep it more regional like it is, sub-regional like it is, and start small, you'll have a much better chance of making it happen. As soon as you drag in a regional district that 90% of the time that we've asked them, they have no money, so they have not participated. I think that if you do that at this point, I will vote against this, even though I'm totally in favor of it. But I think bringing in another regional district with their own complexities and problems would be a grave mistake to the intent of the mover of this motion. That's not what was intended.
Okay, okay, thank
So
you.
it's just somebody's idea of an add-on, and I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay, well, I wanted to add on about Waddington because I met with our MLA and she suggested that because if it does go through and the report's good, it gives the whole North Island working together on a project. So that's why she said, hey, that's a great idea. So anyway, I lost my speakers list here.
Question,
got-
call the question, please.
Call the question, please.
Question on the motion has been called. Is anyone opposed?
Abrams.
Abrams opposed.
Lee.
Lee's
Lee.
opposed. Abram and Lee? Motion's carried.
Only for that.
Thank you. On to the next item, First Nations Relations Committee, terms of reference. Motion receive the report.
Move
Move
receipt.
receipt. Second.
Wally and Moglove.
And Mr.
And-
Chair, I have a subsequent to this.
Okay, well, let's get the report received first. So, question on receipt of report. Anyone opposed? Carried. Subsequent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if Edith is able to put it up or not. If not, I'll read it out. It's not very long. I'll read it anyway. So it's basically option A with a little addition. So I'd move that the appointment of electoral area director be made a requirement for the First Nation Relations Committee. And further, Director Abram be appointed the electoral area representative on that committee.
Okay,
Second.
so Director Lee, thank you. So I would suggest, I would like to see that in two motions, please, at two different items. So if you don't, I would like to do the appointment of the electoral area director be made a requirement for the First Nation Committee, period.
That's fine. We'll do it two motions.
Okay, thank you, Director Wally. Director Lee, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so on that motion, any discussion? Director Colburn.
Thanks for that, and you solved my issue with it by your remarks. I think that in the terms of reference, if we named someone in the terms of reference, that's not appropriate. So that was my only point. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Anderson.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if somebody from the First Nation Relations Committee might be able to speak to where this came from, because certainly it does, as staff has said, opens up the bigger question of, should there be somebody from this kind of community and that kind of community and the other kind of community? So I'm not aware of there being sort of a less than ideal functionality at the First Nation Relations Committee right now that needs this fix. So I'm just asking for a bit of context, please.
Well, Mr. Chair, Director Cornfield isn't here and he's the chair of the First Nations Committee, so maybe I'll just add something to that, having listened to the discussion. There, the terms of the terms of reference includes the ability to add a EA director to it, and the committee wanted that direction a little more clear, that basically said EA director must be on that committee.
Okay, thank you. I lost my connection. I'm going back and forth. Oh, I'm back.
Yeah, we can hear you.
There we go. Okay, Director Jewell.
He's muted.
Sorry, my hand must have still been up from before.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Director Mogrove.
Thanks. I just had lost my connection, so I had to log out and log back in. So was Director Anderson's question answered about where this came from? I didn't hear the answer because I lost my connection.
Yes, staff answered it, yes.
Thanks.
Not in a way that really answered it, though, from my perspective. I just heard that this was a recommendation from the committee that went from a proposed to a mandatory, but I didn't hear any rationale behind it specifically and how it would be different from a municipal or a First Nation or a small community or anything else.
Well, if I might, I was at the meeting when this was discussed, and it was felt, I think the consensus around the table at the First Nations Relations Committee meeting was that it's very important that we have representation from the electoral area directors, at least one, to get perspective, because there are First Nation issues in electoral areas that perhaps are different than in municipal areas. So we felt it was important to change the terms of reference so that it's not permissive, but it's mandatory. That's where it came from.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Abram.
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate Director Moglove's comments. They were eloquent. Thank you. Secondly, I totally support the idea of having an electoral area director on the committee. We had one before, I was on it. The many of the First Nation issues that we deal with on a regular basis are outside of municipal boundaries and are in electoral area boundaries, and usually require some sort of comment from the electoral area directors in some way, shape, or form. So, this basically just rounds out the committee. If there was an electoral area director on there, there would be all types of jurisdictions on the committee, which would be, I think, the perfect storm. So why not go that direction?
Okay, thank you. I don't see any further hands up. So I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed? Carried. And then part B was again, I believe, Director Wally, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, I can do that. Mr. Chair, I'll move that Director Abram be appointed electoral area representative on the First Nation Relations Committee.
Second.
To Director Wally, Director Lee, thank you. Any discussion?
I would just like to say that Director Abram is absolutely perfectly qualified to be on the committee and has a lot of First Nations in his electoral area that he deals with all the time. So he would be a great asset to the committee. So I totally support him to be selected.
Okay, thank you. Any other further discussion? Director Anderson?
Yes, I'm just looking, is this in addition to the existing members? So this would up the number of committee members overall?
Correct.
Yes, yes.
And so I'm just looking at the terms of reference. I'm not seeing a maximum or minimum number of committee members. Is that correct?
The report is to amend the terms of reference to add that director, which would inherently mean increase the number of members.
I understand, and I'm just looking to see if there's a reference in the terms of reference specifically to a minimum or maximum number, and I'm not seeing that that would need to be amended with it. Thank you.
It says no more than 6.
Yes. Thank you. Any other further discussion? Dr. Avery, you have your hand up, or is it up from previous?
I was up from previous, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other further discussion. I'm just going to say one comment, and I know in the past, Director Abram has stated, you know, he doesn't support the First Nations Committee, so I'm trying to figure out why he would be selected to be appointed to it. So, but that's in the previous. So, no further discussion, Director Abram.
I just wanted to say that was in the past, as you said, when we were first talking about creating committees and whether or not we needed a First Nations committee. It wasn't the committee, it was whether or not we needed a First Nations committee. I'm not sure what to call the head person, but that was the question.
Okay.
And I was not in favor of that at that time. Just to clarify your comment.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed? Carried. Next item, item 5, First Nation tutorial acknowledgement. Motion received report.
Move receipt.
Second.
Here, Moglove and Wally and the CO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing to add.
Okay. On receipt, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Seen none carried. Item B, the policy to guide the use of First Nation tutorial acknowledgements at meetings and other official regional district events be prepared for the board's consideration.
I'll move
So B, Evans.
I think I've got Evans and Adams there, and I think I've got Director Moglove's hand up.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to thank Tina for the excellent presentation that she made to the First Nations committee at our last meeting about this issue. It was a very comprehensive presentation that she made, and I think having this policy to guide us will be very, very, very helpful. As the regional district, being a regional district such as ours, it's more complex than at a municipal level, because there's all sorts of different, whether it's shared territory, whether it's treaty lands, whether it is et cetera. It's quite complex. And so I really appreciated that fulsome report that we got in presentation from Tina. So thank you very much. And I hope the board will support this moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Director Abram.
Yes, I totally support it. I don't envy Tina's job in having to do this because of the numbers of First Nations from different language groups, different areas, overlaps, etc. How we're going to deal with that at an SRD level where we might have 6 or 8 acknowledgements that really should be made so that we don't offend, because you know, that's going to be something that I'm sure she's got it worked out, but not having had the full presentation that First Nations Committee had, I haven't heard that. So
yeah,
I just would share one thing, if I could, from when I was on the EBCM. I was the Aboriginal Affairs Committee Chair, created C2C forums, the Treaty Advisory Committees, et cetera, and this issue every now and then caused some ruffled feathers. So it's really a delicate one, believe me, to acknowledge the wrong people or to not acknowledge the right people. So anyway, good luck, Tina.
Okay, thank you. Don't see other questions, so I'll call question on the motion. Anyone opposed? Carried. On the bylaw, first bylaw 432-433 OCP rezoning Quadra Links. Motion to receive the report.
Move receipt.
Second.
Abram.
And Wally, CEO, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair?
Bill? I'll call question on receipts. Anyone opposed? Carried.
Mr. Chair, I think Director Jules has had his hand up a couple of times in the last, even for the last item.
Yeah, turn up and down. Director Jewell. Oh, it's
Yeah,
off again.
sorry.
No problem.
Sorry. Yeah, I just took it down, but no, I did have a comment that I wanted to make about
Go ahead.
that last presentation.
Go
That
ahead.
it was amazing. Tina was awesome. She was very informative, and sitting through that was very great. And then moving on to the next meeting as well, I believe Martin was the chair of that next meeting, and he practiced his acknowledgements during that meeting, and that was really cool. It was awesome to see, and I just want to thank you, and this is very nice to see it at this level, because all the meetings that I've gone to that were anywhere else, they've all had the acknowledgements of the territory that they're in, and it's just amazing to see that progress going across. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Director Jewell. Okay, so questions are called on A. So item B, the bylaw 432B, bylaw to amend the Quad Island official community plan, now being introduced and read for the first time. Director Abram,
Move
second
item
by
B.
Lee, second.
Abram and Lee, thank you. Any discussion? See none, I'll call question. Area directors only. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item C, bylaw 432 be given second reading.
Move item C, Abram.
Second.
Second Wally. Electorate only. Anyone opposed? Carried. And item D, bylaw 433 be given bylaw to amend the zoning regulations. Quad Island now be introduced and read.
Move item D, Abram.
Second.
Thank you. All elector areas, anyone opposed? Carried. And E, item bylaw 433 will be given second reading.
Move
Abram and Wally. Anyone opposed? Carried. And item F, the agency referral list of First Nations consultant process.
Move item F, Abram.
Second.
Thank you. Question? Anyone opposed? Carried. Correspondence, aquaculture consultation. Motion to receive the correspondence.
Move receipt, and after receipt, I have a motion.
Second.
Director Lee, Director Adams. Any discussion? Call question on receipt. Anyone opposed? Carried. Director Lee.
I sent an advance motion to Edie. She can put it up there. And move that the SRD requests that our Member of Parliament continue to press for fair consultation with our regional district and our North Island communities on the issues of closure of aquaculture sites, and that the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans be copied on our correspondence.
Second.
Seconder, Director Adams, thank you. Anything to add? Director Adams?
I want to thank Director Lee for putting this subsequent forward. However, I don't have a lot of faith in it going anywhere.
Thank you, Director Adams. I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed? Carried.
Anderson.
Nothing in members, nothing in management, nothing in new business. Closed. The report from CEO be received.
Move receipt.
Second.
I think that was Moglove and Adams.
Where's Lee?
Sorry, okay, Lee and Adams. Call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. And move B, the closed meeting held immediately following the public meeting. Director Adams, second by
Second.
Director Davis. Hearing nothing, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. And the July 14, 2020 regular meeting be terminated.
Move termination.
Second.
Director Wally, Director Adams. Any discussion? Seeing none, carried. See you in a minute.